Good evening, welcome to my channel. My name's Gavin Boyter, I'm a writer of short stories, and I'm very pleased to say that today I will not be reading you a short story because my father Ian Boyter will be instead. My dad is the first person to accept my 5-word challenge. I hope he won't be the last. And the words that his story are based on are And, just to remind you of the rules, if you want to take part in this challenge, you just need to simply reply to one of my videos saying, "I'm in," or "Let me take the 5-word challenge," words of that effect. I will then contact you and send you 5 random words, and then you need to video yourself, as my father has done, and send me that video, or send me a link to the video. Basically, yeah, if you say "I'm in," I will then send you the rest of the instructions. But for now, here's my father Ian with the story, "A Friend is a Gift."
As he walked through the woods, the old man, Robert Bain, looked at the trees he had known since he was a child. Some had fallen, but a few that remained had been his friends for most of his life. He was slightly amnesiac, but he still had sunlit memories of swimming in the river, in the dappled pool that he and his boyhood friends had created by damming the stream just below the waterfall. They had swum naked in the pool and run barefoot through the trees. The beautiful unkempt woods next to the barracks were once the property of the Ministry of Defence, and he and his friends had spent many happy days there, building ramshackle huts and playing games with slug pistols and bows and arrows, reenacting scenes from the cowboy movies they enjoyed as children. Robert slowly made his way past the scattered wreckage of an old beech tree which had succumbed to a recent storm, along the path towards the clearing that he had often frequented as a boy. The destruction of the tree saddened him. He had arranged to meet an old friend at the clearing, someone that he had not seen for many years. In fact, when he thought about it, he realised that over 50 years had passed since they had last met. They had been in the same class in the village school. Then, later, when they were teenagers, they had formed a band. They both played harmonicas and accordions, and they had played to the squaddies in the barracks to earn a few shillings. Robert's childhood friend Leslie had a natural aptitude for music and could play any melody he heard on the radio without a second thought. Robert and Leslie often practiced their harmonicas in the woods, in the same clearing where they had arranged to meet. Robert had lost his shiny new harmonica there, a birthday present from a generous uncle, on one of these occasions. He had put it down while they both laid back in the long grass and shared a bottle of lemonade. When the bottle was empty, Robert and Leslie looked for the harmonica everywhere, but it could not be found. Leslie Dorwood had not been a very good scholar, but he had a natural intelligence and cunning. Tragically, he had been physically abused by his father. Robert had once seen Leslie kicked to the floor for stealing money out of his father's jacket pockets. Leslie's father was a taxi driver, and the coins were his tips. He had also seen Leslie being repeatedly punched on the head by his father for stealing a bicycle from one of the local children. But Leslie had also been the victim of theft himself. Leslie and Robert had a Saturday gig playing their accordions and harmonicas in a pub in Edinburgh's historic High Street. During their break, they sat chatting and drinking Coca-Colas provided by the barman, being too young for alcoholic drinks. The plaster ceiling, stained brown by decades of cigarette smoke, was supported by a thick wooden beam. To pass the time, Robert was reading the inscription painted in a Gothic script on the wood. "A friend is a gift you give yourself, Robert Louis Stevenson." Then, from the corner of his eye, Robert caught a glimpse of a man picking up Leslie's accordion and slipping out the door with it. "Your accordion!" he shouted, and ran out the door in pursuit, with Leslie following close behind. The boys caught up with the thief, who was carrying the accordion uphill towards the Tron church. As the boys reached him, he put the instrument down. He smiled. "Just a joke, lads," he said, as he walked quickly away. Robert had always valued his friendship with Leslie despite his failings. He had witnessed Leslie's father's explicit violence, and it seemed to Robert that Leslie's abusive childhood almost excused him for his lapses of honesty. He enjoyed his company. They had practiced their harmonicas together, and Leslie, who was easily the better player, generously passed on secrets of his skill to Robert. After primary school, the boys' paths diverged. Robert, being the better scholar, got a place in the senior secondary school, while Leslie went to the junior secondary. But they still got together to play music. They competed in the Carol Levis show, a talent competition in the Empire Theatre, and won the weekday heat. They were disappointed, but not too surprised when they did not win the Saturday final. As their teenage years slipped away, they lost touch with each other. Robert married and had a family. Leslie remained single and spent many periods, off and on, in jail for theft. 3 days earlier, Robert had been mystified when he got a text message to meet someone called Leslie. "Hi Robert, why don't we meet just for old time's sake?" Leslie. At first he thought, "I don't know anyone called Leslie." There had been a woman called Leslie who had once been a colleague, but the spelling was different. Once he realised who the message must have come from, he texted back to arrange the place and time. When Robert approached the clearing, memories flooded back. Many years had passed, yet he remembered the happy days they had shared, playing their instruments there. There was no one in the clearing, and Robert checked his watch. Then he heard the sound of a harmonica being played from behind a tree. The melody was "Who's Sorry Now?", a song that the boys had often played together. He walked slowly towards the music as Leslie stepped into view. They met, and after a long pause, they warmly shook hands. "Long time no see," said Robert. "Hi, it's been a while," said Leslie, who was visibly crying. He put his hand into his coat pocket and pulled out a shiny harmonica. He handed it to Robert. "It was just a joke, Robert."
So there you have it, the first guest story in my 5-word challenge. I thought it was really sweet. I know where some of that story is set. I've been there myself. And yeah, I had a very clear image of what was going on, and there's a lovely little twist at the end there. So well done, Dad. And I hope I will have more entries. I'd love to have more guest writers and readers in this channel. So drop me a line, and I'll see you again very soon. Thanks.